So anyway, last week Anne had read part of the poem, The Wreck of the Hesperus, to Katie Maurice. This is so sad but so romantic, she said. A big storm comes up and the little daughter is very frightened, but her father says not to worry. He wraps her in his own coat and fastens her tight to the mast. Then, of course, the ferocious storm gets worse and worse, and the whole crew is swept off the ship into the sea. Listen to this, Katie Maurice. The breakers were right beneath her bows. She drifted a dreary wreck, and a whooping billow swept the crew like icicles from her deck. Imagine, Katie Maurice, like icicles, frozen and stiff. And of course, the small maiden perishes when the ship is blown up on the shore and a fisherman finds her the next day. I cried when Miss Henderson first read the poem to us, but now I'm overwhelmed by the beauty of it all. Anne was now ready for the day. She came down the stairs carrying her school bag. She was quietly whispering the last verse of the poem. Mrs. Thomas was in the kitchen. She was never there when Anne came down on school mornings to prepare her breakfast. And she was just sitting there, watching her. Anne, said Mrs. Thomas, sit down and put your school bag on the hall table. You won't be needing it today. Anne stood very still. She did not sit down. Why? She said. Mrs. Thomas didn't approach her reply with any mercy. Because Mr. Thomas is dead. He was killed last night by a train. Anne had actually dropped to the floor and was staring now at Mrs. Thomas, her eyes large and stricken. Then she started to cry, slowly and quietly at first, but then with wild sobs and moans. Mrs. Thomas sat silently for a while, letting Anne cry. Then she started to speak. Anne held in her sobs and listened. I'm awful weak, Anne. I feel like if I stood up, I'd fall right over, like you did. I don't know what to do. A man came and told me about it all, banging on the front door. There was a party, so lots of people saw it. Some men will build a box and put him in it. He can be buried near his own home in Bolingbroke. I liked him, said Anne. After I got over hating him for taking school away from me, I almost loved him. Maybe I did. At Christmas when he did all the wonderful things. My bear, the oranges. Then Anne started to cry again, quietly this time, tears streaming down her face. It's not like the poems in the Royal Readers, said Anne slowly. What? The readers are full of stories about dying. Dying children, dying dogs, dying sailors. The writers are in love with shipwrecks and terrible disasters, and they make it sound very tragic and also wonderful. I don't know how they do it or why they do it. They don't talk about being an unwanted orphan or having red hair or not being able to go to school or not knowing where you're going to live after the man gets killed by a train. They make death sound beautiful just because the lines rhyme and the poet puts his words together right. But it's not really like that. What's so beautiful about being put in a box and sent to Bolingbroke? And what will happen to Blackbird and the White Charger and to our cow? How do we pack when we don't even know where we're going? And Lochinvar, will he come with us? Will he be all right? Oh, Mrs. Thomas, I feel like I want to be one of those sailors in the poem, swept off the boat into the raging ocean to die forevermore. Anne remained on the floor, her face buried in her hands. I'm mad, too. Why did he go to that party? He must have known when the trains come and go in the nighttime. Why did he have to do anything that stupid? I can't stand it. Mrs. Thomas sighed. She felt neither compassion nor irritation. She just felt a kind of hollow emptiness. You have to stand it, she said wearily. I told Mr. Higgins that you'd help me. Anne, you've got to do that. I feel like I can't even stand up. Anne wasn't crying any longer. I don't feel so good about standing up myself, Mrs. Thomas. I'd like someone to be helping me. Yes, I'll help you, but sometime I hope to get a chance to be young before I get too old to enjoy it. So that's the end of the reading.